I'm optimistic. Stafford under center.
It's hot out there, but let's blow them off the line of scrimmage. Headline, Los Angeles.
Live from the RamCave, I'm Joe Tarosian, and this is RamView, the February 21st, 2025 edition, brought to you by Kistler Law Firm. Injured in an auto accident, need help, got questions? Call Kistler Law at 661-206-6990. That's Kistler Law at 661-206-6990. And check out KistlerLawFirm.com. That's one word, KistlerLawFirm.com. Kistler Law, they've been fighting for you since 92. And by Temple City Auto Repair, having some auto issues, get yourself some John and Henry at TempleCityAutoRepair.com. All right, I'm going to say it right now. My vibe is Matthew Stafford's going to be back. That's my vibe. You know, last show I said what I want. This is my vibe. Matthew Stafford's going to be back. I know everyone's getting a little fearful right now that Stafford, because his agent's been given permission to see what his worth is with other teams. And I don't see the Rams pulling the trigger. I just don't see the Rams Stafford is not a free agent. If the Rams don't do anything, he can retire or he can come in and play. I don't know how it's going to work out, but the Rams generally take care of their people. We know that. Right now, it feels like it's a game of brinksmanship. All right? I feel like I'm in history class and I'm learning about the Cuban Missile Crisis, right? And the big fear is the button is not going to be pushed, or is the button going to be pushed? And I'm thinking right now that's kind of where we're at. They're playing a game of brinksmanship, and I think instead of having a Charlton Heston scene at the end of Planet of the Apes where he's screaming, "You blew it up," I think we're going to come back to think, all right, crisis is resolved. Everything goes back to status quo, because I don't know if there is a better fit out there for Matthew Stafford. And I don't know if the Rams are going to get compensated the way they want to be compensated if they trade Matthew Stafford, because attached to Matthew Stafford is an opportunity for Super Bowl 60 and Super Bowl 61. You trade him, you're out. You're absolutely out. And it affects everything else going forward. So I'm a firm believer the Rams and him are going to come to an agreement. Mr. Burns here says the Rams will give him his money. And listen, let me share this with you. Someone on some board, I can't remember what board I read it on. I try to hit all the boards. On a board I read it on, said they would give Stafford somewhere in the 40 million range, but they wouldn't give him the 50. And someone said, you don't think Stafford's worth 50? Stafford is worth 60, guys. Matthew Stafford is worth 60 rocks a year. I know it has to work out with the salary cap, but the Rams always figure out a way to work out the salary cap and massage and coax it. Even if there's dead money at the end of the run, you got a quarterback right now who's still in position to get you to a Super Bowl. And to me, it seems like you'd gladly pay some of that dead money, right, if it got you another ring or a shot, some deep shots at another ring a couple of times. So if he wants 2 years at 120 walks, fully guaranteed, the Rams really should be in on this because there's nothing else out there, right? I do it. And here's the other aspect. Played with busted ribs in the playoffs, performed great. His teammates love him, offense and defensive side, and he's been underpaid his whole time in Los Angeles. It boils back to me that Stafford will be back. I cannot believe the Rams have come this far. It would really be the most brain-dead move the organization has had since probably Carol Rosenbloom changed his will for the last time, right? So I do believe Stafford will be back. All right, let's take a look at a few things here on a Friday night. I know things are slow. I promise I won't keep you guys long tonight. Jacksonville Jaguars have hired Ram draft scout lead guy James Gladstone. He got permission from his mom, being that he's only 34. Mom said it was okay. And so he's going to Jacksonville, where the head coach there now is Liam Cohen. So that has a decidedly Ram flavor there in North Florida. So that's where he's going. Brandon Staley has been hired to be the DC of the New Orleans Saints. And he's going to a place right now that, man, right? They're talking Cam Jordan could be a cap casualty. They've got all kinds of cap issues. Brandon Staley's really going to have to scratch out an existence there. Otherwise, it could be a short run for him and Kellen Moore, unless there's some understanding between the New Orleans front office there. Left tackles available if the Rams don't sign Alaric Jackson. Cam Robinson and Ronnie Stanley. My advice here is pay Alaric Jackson. Cam Robinson is projected to be worth Ronnie Stanley is projected to be worth 2 years, $40 million. That means $20 million a year. Cam Robinson's about $18 million a year. Pay Alaric Jackson. You have to pay Alaric Jackson, because if you bring back Matthew Stafford, do you want a rookie at left tackle protecting his blind side and hoping that rookie is not redundant here? You're probably sick of hearing it, but I'm not sick of saying it. You don't want to hope or fear that rookie is Alex Barron, Jason Smith, or Greg Robinson. Every time someone screams draft a tackle for the Rams, those should be the names on your lips and in your mind, and what you should be fearing. Re-sign Alaric Jackson, all right? And still talking about the defensive side of things, no one is talking about Emmanuel Forbes. No one is talking about Emmanuel Forbes. I've pussyfooted around enough with this. Why would the Rams sign him? Why would they pull him off waivers, assume the rest of his rookie deal when he was a colossal bust in Washington, probably would have cleared waivers, but instead they said, no, we got to get our hands on this guy because I think the Rams believe they can salvage him. And if they think they can salvage him and turn him around, let's remember, Darius Williams was nobody before the Baltimore Ravens put Darius Williams in the street, and the Rams signed him and turned him into an upper-level, competent, top 15, top 10 corner in the NFL. Emmanuel Forbes comes with the receipts in terms of being an athlete. It's just about getting him right in this game. I am not going to be surprised if the Rams forego, let's just say there's no trades, but if the Rams use their first and 2/3, or they use maybe a trade back in the first round to pick up a fourth pick in the top 100, I would not be surprised if the Rams did not draft a cornerback, especially if they could find a way to bring Ahkello Witherspoon back. Remember, Ahkello Witherspoon, Rams didn't sign him after 2023. Nobody in the NFL signed him, and it was during the regular season the Rams finally brought Witherspoon back. So I don't know what the feeling is on Witherspoon. I don't think anyone wants to give him too much guaranteed money, but you bring back Witherspoon. Darius Williams should not be a cap casualty. I've heard his name mentioned. That would be foolish by the Rams. Find your cap space someplace else. Rams already have sufficient cap space. But you bring back Emmanuel Forbes, Darius Williams, Ahkello Witherspoon, and then you develop the talent that's still on this roster, and you got a shot to compete, right? Draft somebody else on the third day. That's what I'm saying here. I got a feeling about Forbes, all right? I guess this is vibe day. Wednesday was what I want day. This is vibe day. I'm Joe Terozino. I was a sports writer for 21 years. Still am, kind of, and I guess I shouldn't say just 21 years. I am contributing to Mid-Valley Sports. I was one of the guys that started it and helped run it. Right now, I'm just doing rolling logs for Tim Peterson and Dwayne Barker. And you can find my column FanView there at midvalleysports.com, as well as some Ram notes written by me and, of course, the great Tim Burns. So be sure to check out midvalleysports.com. All right, let's see who's here. Let's go check it out. Steve Ramirez. If Rosenblum changed his will by his own free will. Oh, are you saying they had a little bit of, how would you say this, Steve? Would you say they had a little bit of Luca Brasi there? A little bit like, Carol, rewrite this, or it's either going to be your signature or your brains that are going to be on this contract, right? Is that what you're thinking? There you go. Bill, why not sign Cam Robinson and move him to right tackle? Get ahead of the game when it comes to Havenstein. I think Havenstein's still playing competently. I think Warren McClendon, Bill, did a fine job there at right tackle. Warren McClendon's not a utility piece. He's not going to be a left tackle. But at right tackle, I felt he was competent, and he can back up. This might be Havenstein's last year. It's the last year of his contract. And if he decides not to come back and maybe he doesn't play well, the Rams should be looking to replace him. You have a year to figure this out. Find out if Warren McClendon's a guy that you can move into that spot, or maybe draft somebody else. I have no problem with them drafting another tackle, maybe in the top 100 or in the back of the draft someplace, and developing them. You got to keep replenishing those ranks. So I'm just not a Cam Robinson guy. Maybe that's what it is. I don't feel comfortable with Cam Robinson. Okay, let's see. Around the NFL and other places, NFL free agents. It's not a great NFL class, free agent class, right? T. Higgins is the cream of the crop at wide receiver. I don't want to talk about Keenan Allen, Brandon Cooks, or even Deontay Johnson or Stephon Diggs, right? So, take it away. T. Higgins, maybe. Devontae Adams, if he gets put in the street, yeah, maybe. Cornerback is interesting, but I've been making the argument for Emmanuel Forbes. DJ Reed, Charvarius Ward, Carlton Davis are all on the market. Each run about 3 years, 42 rocks, which means $14 million a year. I don't know if the Rams want to pay that. They're all in their late 20s. So it'll be interesting to see, but those guys could garner some interest. Speaking of former Rams, the Bears have cut Gerald Everett, and another cap casualty has been Sheldon Rankins, defensive tackle with the Bengals. He only played about 6 or 7 games this year. He's a former number 1 with the Saints. Regarding Everett, a lot of people forget about Gerald Everett. Gerald Everett was the first pick of the McSnead era. 2nd round, 44th overall out of South Alabama. Signed a 2-year deal with the Bears last offseason. Only caught about 13 passes, I think. 8 passes, 13. Was it 13 targets, 8 catches? And it looked like it was a good move for the Bears last year. Didn't pan out. Everett was hurt. Everett's 31 now, so his run in the NFL might be winding down. And for those of you that hate the Cowboys, I got great news. This is the best news I heard all day. Dallas Cowboy guard Zach Martin retires. Now, he's not Harvey Martin, but Zach Martin has been like one of the best guards in the NFL for 11 years, and it's true. He was fading, but a fading Zach Martin is better than anything Dallas has to replace him. And now he's stepped out. And by the way, just for the record, as the Cowboys look to rebuild that offensive line, rebuild their running back room, put parts in around CeeDee Lamb, and upgrade their defense a little bit. Did you know that Dak Prescott, his cap hit in 2025 is 89.8 rocks? Just the way the contract is structured, it drops back into a mere 67 mil next year, but it's 89.8 this year. Prescott, a quarterback who has struggled to finish the season, a quarterback who has struggled to advance in the postseason, Dak Prescott is 32% of the Cowboys' salary cap. You wonder why Mike McCarthy didn't want to come back, right? You wonder why it was Brian Schottenheimer who got this job. Dak Prescott is 32% of the Cowboys' salary cap. CeeDee Lamb is 12%. So between them, they take close to 45%, 2 players, of the Cowboys' salary cap. Oh, and by the way, they have not extended Micah Parsons yet. Boom, right? Boom. For a Dallas Cowboy fan, this must be the worst time ever. How marvelous. Is that awesome or what? Love it, love it, love it. Okay, hockey grudge match. Nothing is better than a hockey grudge match. I'm sorry USA lost to Canada yesterday, but that was fun to watch. That was a lot of fun to watch. I've shared it before. The best events I've ever been to live is a highly intense hockey game. I've been to some basketball games that get that way, but not often. But a hockey match. Even I've seen NFL games. I've been to NFC Championship games. Nothing is like a hockey grudge match. I hope we appreciated that yesterday. All right, let's see here. Bill, Everett caught the winning touchdown against the Kansas City. I will never forget that. Absolutely. You know, I didn't have a problem with Gerald Everett. he did get on the field. He wasn't like Bryson Hopkins, and they used him. But I thought it was really telling when the Rams extended Tyler Higbee, who was drafted in 2016 before McVay came to the Rams. The Rams extended Tyler Higbee and didn't even think about extending Gerald Everett. And I think it was issues with blocking. And so, yeah, that's an interesting thing to see, right? And it was an interesting thing to see. I did like Gerald Everett. I was kind of always hoping, is there room for him with a reunion at a good price? But not now. We didn't think it was going to happen anytime soon. So cool. All right, let's keep moving on, guys. Thanks for joining us. I think I started. I'm writing for Mid-Valley Sports again, but I'm also doing this show thanks to Kistler Law. So be sure to check them out if you have an auto question, an auto injury accident report, or something comes up. I can speak that firsthand. And I also write books. My books are on Amazon. Please check them out on Amazon. Type in my name and support us by purchasing one of my books. I've written 3 football novels. They were all received pretty well. This is my first one, Tangent Dreams. And my latest, Game Day in the RamCave, came out in September. It's done well. And fictional NFC championship game between the Packers and the Rams at SoFi. It should be a lot of fun if you want to buy it. Keeps us, we don't have a Patreon account. We don't have a paywall. It helps keep us on the air, as well as me and my day job. I pastor a small church in Burbank Faith Nazarene, and Burbank Faith Virtual is right here on YouTube, and you can join us there and ask any questions you may have. All right, let's see what else we got here as we roll through. I'm looking at 30 minutes, guys. I'm not going to go long. Here's an interesting thing as we get ready for the draft. And this one's a lot of fun. I've used this before, but I haven't used it probably with this crowd. So you can give me your thoughts if you want. And I'll probably post this on Mid-Valley Sports maybe tomorrow. I'm sitting on a Rams notes from Tim Burns. I haven't forgotten Mr. Burns, but I also am sitting on this. I'm trying to figure out when's the best time to use it because I don't want to get lost in the shuffle. But here's the deal. Between 2000 and 2009, the Rams drafted 86 players. 86 players. Okay? That's a decade's worth of drafts. The Rams drafted 86. 8 of them became contributors in the NFL. Notice I said contributors. I didn't say Hall of Famers. I didn't say perennial Pro Bowlers. I said contributors. Okay? 86 players. 8 of them became contributors. Ryan Pickett, who played out his option and played out his contract and went to the Packers. He had a nice career that lasted about another 8 or 9 years there in Green Bay. Adam Archuleta, who signed a massive contract with the Redskins, played 1 year there, and his career was pretty much over, and he's on TV. Rams got the best out of him. Steven Jackson, who should be Hall of Fame bound. Okay, we're good with that. Steven Jackson. Richie Incognito. OJ Atagwe. Ronnie Bartel. Ryan Fitzpatrick. Chris Long, and James Laurinaitis, right? About the only guy there that really stands out is Steven Jackson, right? Do you know how many of them made the Pro Bowl while they were with the Rams? Only Steven Jackson. Richie Incognito played in 4 Pro Bowls, but that was after he moved on and left the Rams. That is how you kill a franchise. How do you know? Well, look at their records. In 2000, the Rams were 10-6. They lost a playoff game to get the Saints their first playoff victory. They were driving late. Warner got picked off. Quarterback. Rams were 10-6 that year. Next year, they came back. They were 14-2. Went to the Super Bowl, lost to the Patriots. Year after that, Bulger and Warner split time. Rams went 7-9, missed the playoffs. The next year, Rams were 12-4. Bulger was the quarterback, and they lost the playoff game to Carolina, which rankled me. Next year after that, the Rams were 8-8. So last time the Rams were in the playoff until 2017. They were 8-8, and that was the year the Rams went into Seattle and won the wild card game, then went to Atlanta and lost. And then you've got the next year, the Rams were 6-10. Then Scott Linehan's first year, they were 8-8. Then they were 3-13. Then they were 2-14. Then they were 1-15. That is how you kill a franchise. That is the epitome of the lost decade. And even 2010, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, they were all in front of them. All those Jeff Fisher years were still in front of the Rams, and it was brutal. But if you screw up the draft, look at that. For a decade, from 2000 to 2009, 86 players, 8 of them became contributors, and only Steven Jackson, while with the Rams, made a Pro Bowl. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. So just thought I'd throw that out there. Let's look at a mock draft that popped up today. I'm looking at different mock drafts, and there's PFF, NFL.com, CBS, USA Today, Lance Zierlein, the Bleacher Name. All these things are pretty standard. So I was looking for one that's out of the norm. I used Dynasty Nerds a couple weeks ago. Well, actually, no, about last week I used Dynasty Nerds. And at number 26, the Dynasty Nerds had the Rams taking Arante Ursary, tackle out of Minnesota, 6'6", 339. They said he moved well, but he was still raw. And I don't know if the Rams really want a player at number 26 that's still raw, okay? And he was almost exclusively a left tackle in college. So that was a different one. I went to on3.com. Never heard of them before. Was looking, found this sports site. A lot of sports information there. On3.com, this column's by a guy named Alex Byington, and he had a mock draft up there. And I'm going to run through it because his mock draft was a little bit different. Number 1 was Titans taking Abdul Carter from Penn State. Giants, he projects a trade from the Giants with the Browns to move up to take Cam Ward. Browns at number 3 take Travis Hunter. Patriots at number 4 take Will Campbell, offensive tackle, LSU. I haven't mentioned it that often, but that's a trend. I'm seeing that trend across all mock draft boards. And then the one that was interesting too here that I mentioned it now is Jaguars at number 5 take Nick Imanowori. He's a safety from South Carolina, which now I'm wondering if Mr. Byington factored in that the Rams, that the Jaguars just hired the Rams, James Gladstone. It would be a cold day in Hades before you saw a Ram front office draft a safety number 5 overall, right? We know that. You won't even give them second contracts, let alone you're going to draft a safety in the top 10 of the draft. So I think that one's going to change there if Mr. Gladstone has anything to say about it. Number 6, and this is becoming a trend with the Raiders, Shedeur Sanders. Now, I don't think Shedeur Sanders likes it. I don't think he likes it, but we're seeing a trend there where Shedeur Sanders continues to fall to the Raiders. Number 7, the Jets in need of a quarterback. It shows them taking Mason Graham, defensive tackle, Michigan. Panthers taking James Pierce, edge rusher, Tennessee. Number 9, this one was interesting. Tyler Warren going to the Saints. I think that's actually a pretty good pick. Number 10, talk about how things can change. Last week, they had the Rams, Dynasty Nerds had the Rams taking Arante Ursary out of Minnesota at number 26. Today, the on.3 draft has the Bears taking Ursary at number 10. It has Frisco at number 11 taking Mike Green, edge out of Marshall. Cowboys at number 12 taking Ashton Genty, Boise State. I think the Cowboys would be wise to trade back, but they won't do that. Keep moving on here. Let's see. I'll keep sliding down. I want to do it all. Tatario McMillan, the wide receiver from Arizona, who some have projected as top 3. He's the first wide receiver to go off the board at number 19 to the Buccaneers, which is interesting because Mike Evans, Chris Godwin's coming back, maybe getting a little long in the tooth, and you can pair him with Baker Mayfield going forward. Colston Loveland going to the Broncos at number 20. That's interesting. And then the Steelers going DT, not offense, with Darius Alexander Toledo, who was projected in a Daniel Jeremiah mock draft to the Rams earlier this week. Has the Chargers taking Bashul Tutin, running back at number 22 out of Virginia Tech. Running backs are climbing in and moving up in the trend levels here. Something to think about. And then Number 24, the Vikings take Donovan Jackson, who's been projected to the Rams, the inside lineman, the interior offensive lineman, the guard who moved to left tackle after Josh Simmons went down. And you'll notice we're 24 picks into this draft and there's no Josh Simmons. Number 25, Houston Texans take Emeka Egbuka, the wide receiver from Ohio State. So at number 26, whole bunch of receivers are still available for the Rams. Josh Simmons is still available for the Rams. Josh Connerly is still available for the Rams. But Alex Byington has the Rams taking Joshua Farmer, defensive tackle, Florida State. Now, is he reading into the influence of Jared Verse and Braden Fisk? Could the Rams take another Florida State player in the first round? Joshua Farmer, defensive tackle. He's tall. He's 6'3", 314. My only question about that is I'd like him to be a little fatter. I'd like another 15 pounds on him if he's going to be the replacement, say, for a Bobby Brown. I like the height, knocking down passes, but I worry about the leverage and being moved off the ball for being so tall and maybe not as heavy as we want him to be. Just throwing it out there. And I thought this was an interesting mock draft. It was just a little bit different, not so much dependent on what other people are saying. All right. Hit the 26-minute mark. Let's see, USA Expat. I really hope the Rams let us all see the insides of their draft room like last year. Excellent behind the grind. Yeah, you know, my only problem with behind the grind is I just wish they dropped them all at once so I can binge them. I really do enjoy the behind the grind stuff. I really do. I know other teams are doing it, but man, that kind of stuff I really, really love. I think it's great. I'm fully there with you, USA Expat, on that one. That is so true. All right, let's keep moving along here. I think we got most of the stuff in. I went kind of fast today. Anything you guys want to talk about, put it in the box, and we'll talk. Right now, I'm going to look at our
it was a stone groove, my man.
This day in history stuff. On this day in 2001, Rams waived DeMarco Farr. He had been an undrafted free agent. And Ray Agnew, he had been a first-round pick of the Patriots in 1990 and was a 3-year starter for the Rams. They both got a ring, and Agnew, I think, still works for the Rams or was working for the Rams. And DeMarco Farr, of course, has a radio show. Farr appeared in 100 games in 7 seasons with the Rams, started 88, made the Pro Bowl in 99, and recorded 36.5 sacks, 3 picks. And he was outstanding in the postseason, 3 games, 12 tackles, 11 solo, and a sack. So pretty good stuff there. Tomorrow, since we're not on the air, we do want to acknowledge Ron Bartell, who I mentioned earlier. He was a second-round pick, 50th overall in 2005 by the Rams, one of the few that actually got a second contract. 6'1", 210. Bartell was good. Appeared in 89 games, started 64, picked off 8 passes, one of the few bright spots in a dreadful decade of drafting. Wrapped up his career. Neck injury derailed him. Wrapped up his career with the Raiders in 2012, and then had a cup of coffee with Detroit after that. Also, we had talked about draft contributions, right? 2000 to 2009. The 2005 draft might have been the Rams' best draft of the decade, if you excuse Alex Barron being taken number 19 overall. But that draft did include Ron Bartell at number 50, OJ Atogwe, who gave the Rams a nice run there for a few years, Richie Incognito, who maybe if he would had a Les Snead, a Sean McVay around, somebody that knew how to handle him and build out of him that immaturity, would have reaped the benefits of 4 Pro Bowls from him. But Rams just didn't have that, and it wasn't much of an argument when they let him go. But there was that. And then Ryan Fitzpatrick out of Harvard, seventh round, last pick of the Rams, and he ended up having a great career as a backup, played till 2020, 21. And but yeah, that was a pretty successful draft class in 2005. Again, there's no Pro Bowlers there, but just something I thought we'd throw out. And then on Sunday, since I'm not on the air, I wanted to make mention of this. I always feel like this needs to make mention. In 1998, the Rams released Leslie O'Neal. Now, it is that Leslie O'Neal who started for the Bolts from the late 80s throughout the 90s for about 10 years. It's forgotten because the Rams were so bad and they were in St. Louis. Leslie O'Neal played 2 seasons with the Rams, 1996 through 1997, 31 games, He had 17 sacks in 2 seasons, and he was at the end of his career. And the Rams let him go prior to the 98 season. On February 23rd, 2021, the Rams hired Ejiro Evero as a secondary coach and a passing game coordinator. He's gone on to other things. Eric Yarber as the wide receiver coach, and people rave about Eric Yarber. And then they also hired this, they actually promoted him, was Chris Shula became the linebacker coach in 2021. Also want to remember on Sunday, Jim Youngblood, not Jack, Jim Youngblood, second-round pick out of Tennessee Tech, turns 75. And the Rams got a great run out of Jim Youngblood. So there we go. I think we got it. All right. Let's see here if we got any other questions. Anything else popping up, guys? I know things are slowing down a little bit. All the, how do we say this? The NFL calendar keeps picking up. The 24th, I think players start arriving for the combine. I don't think they start working out until the end of the week, and that goes till March 3rd. So we'll see that on TV. And then, honestly, we are, today's the 21st. So we're 19 days away, less than 3 weeks away from the new league year. And that's where you want to keep an eye on roster bonuses and different things like that, because Cup's roster bonus is going to be due third week, I think about a week after the league season begins, March 12th. And the same thing for Stafford. And so sometimes you think the Rams, would like to make a move before those things kick in. So something to keep an eye on. Those are the key ones. And of course, the NFL draft, April 24th through the 26th. Yeah. All right. I think we got it there. Let's see. USA Expat, getting geared up for the combine. I think I talked about the combine the other night. I used to just salivate over the combine. I mean, I just used to, and then it became more about looking at film on YouTube and seeing someone's highlight video that was not a first day or a second round pick because of where the Rams were always drafting. And now that the Rams have had some picks, I've actually kind of jumped back into watching the combine. So I am looking forward. So let's see. Evan Hotz, I'm tuning in late. So you may have already discussed this. Do you think the Rams will target a position over a player at the first round pick? Yeah, that's my feeling is, I know that, I think that was Don Klosterman's thing. And I'm a big Klosterman fan. It was best player available, which is why the year after McCutcheon ran for 1,097 yards and Bertelsen ran for 854, the very next draft, the Rams took John Capoletti with, I think, the 10th or the 11th pick. So he was taking the best player available. I look at it right now, and I think the Rams do have some needs. And I think the biggest thing is they need another receiver, no matter how they cut it, free agency or the draft. You look at some of those things. If you got Tatario McMillan dropping from 3rd overall towards the middle to the back of the first round of the draft, that means there's going to be a lot of receivers available. And even so, you could trade back and accumulate more. I'm for drafting, always for drafting offensive linemen. But again, if Alaric Jackson leaves, I don't think there's another option. I don't. All right. Alaric Jackson probably be paid the same money as Cam Robinson and Ronnie Stanley. So why wouldn't you keep Alaric Jackson for that same money? I would really be disappointed if he left and they signed one of those guys. But if Alaric Jackson leaves, I think you got to take the position. You got to take a tackle. And I don't like that because I've shared my fear. Alex Barron, Jason Smith, Greg Robinson. I've shared my fear about tackles that the Rams take. That's 3 whiffs after Orlando Pace. It's funny. Lately, the Rams have been really successful in the draft and whiffing at free agency. And they've whiffed in the draft recently, or back then they whiffed in the draft, but they nailed it with Andrew Whitworth, right? So that's some interesting stuff there. So I think it really depends on what we see, right? If we get Alaric Jackson squared away, I don't think they have to take a tackle in the first round. I like Warren McClendon as a backup for Havenstein, and maybe the Rams take a tackle later on, but they don't have to take him in the first round. If McVay is serious about saying, hey, I need a little more spark in this offense, I want to change things up, he needs another receiver. He needs another receiver to complement, which I think would be Jordan Whittington and Puka Nacua, and he's going to need a burner. And so I think that's what you got to do. You got to do something like that. Also, if Stafford leaves, let's say you keep Alaric Jackson and Stafford leaves, boy, Jimmy G would be my guy to replace him. Jimmy G is going to need some weapons. Stafford can take lemons and make lemonade. That's not Jimmy G. Jimmy G needs to be in the car that's a Cadillac with no cigarette butts in the ashtrays. It all has to be working perfectly. And then he can get you there. I still don't think he can get you over the hump, but he could probably get you there. Stafford could get you there driving a Pinto uphill, which I used to have and nothing was worse, but he can get you there. And so again, there's another reason that you would target a receiver. I hope I didn't get redundant there. So thanks, Evan, for the question. Let's see. Steve Ramirez. I have a vibe the Rams' first pick will be an offensive skill player, whether that's at 26 or they trade back to the early second round. I'd be really interested. I'm sure they've got contingencies there that if you did see some of the receivers dropping to the back of the draft, right, that I could see if the Rams are thinking, we can move to 35 and get someone we really like at 35 or 36 and pick up that extra pick in the top 100. That's really what I want to see. Good call there, Steve. USA Expat. First player pick needs to be able to compete for a starting position. So if Jackson and Havenstein are back, those guys are going to start, right? Because you're not going to re-sign Jackson and then not have him start. So first round pick, I'm loath to say this, a linebacker, a corner, and a wide receiver. Those would be guys that would be immediately plug and play unless, we lose the brinkmanship game, someone pushes the button and Matthew Stafford goes and you got to draft Jackson Dart, right? And then, I don't know, I'm becoming enamored with Jackson Dart. Something to think about. Tommy Huxley. Verse was snubbed for All-Pro. Was he? I did not see that. And, that's a bummer. But again, I remain confident Stafford's back. I'd love to hear all you guys that are still there. Is Stafford back? Just drop in no's and yeses, because I just don't think there's a better place out there for Stafford. And I don't think the Rams have done such great work coming out of 2022. They've done all the hard work, and they've hit on so many things that they've won 10 games each of the last few years. Are they really going to play it cheap right now and let Stafford walk for pennies on the dollar? I just don't. I can't see it. And Stafford's got to have a brain in his head. No matter what Yoko says, he's got to have a brain that says, where am I going to get a better deal? Where am I going to compete for a Super Bowl? I definitely don't think it's New York. Maybe a little bit there in Pittsburgh, but their offensive line's not great. And they don't have any receivers. Well, you got George Pickens, but do you trust George Pickens? I don't trust George Pickens, right? So, so we got some yeses or no. Let's see here. USA Expat. Yes. So you definitely believe Stafford's coming back. I believe Stafford's coming back. Whoever's out there, give me a type. Let me know. Do you think Stafford's coming back? I think he is. Tommy Huxley. Michael, is that really true? Yeah, that news broke today. That news broke today that the Rams have given permission for his agent, Stafford's agent there to seek out partners to find out what Stafford's worth. Let's see. Tommy Huxley, George Pickens, the nose. He is a clown and super talented, right? Super talented, but definitely he's not somebody I don't think you would see in Rams horns unless the bottom drops out of his career. He has a come to Jesus moment with his career and needs one more chance. And then he comes to the McVay Rehab Center and plays a year, plays well, and for 6 or 7 games, and then decides he needs a bigger contract, is going to move on. But that's the only way. I don't see George Pickens ever finding with the Rams. I think George Pickens struggling to stay in the NFL because I think people are getting sick of his act. The prima donna receiver, there's such a glut of receivers nowadays, and you can win without great receivers. Not saying that you can't win with great receivers, but you can win without them as well. yeah, I think that market is closing. All right. Tommy Huxley, Jimmy G, string as a bridge quarterback. You know he likes to throw it to open linebackers, right? Hey, he got you guys, Tommy. He got you guys to a Super Bowl. And you guys were up 20-10 in the Super Bowl in the fourth quarter, right? Now, I'm going to credit, Patrick Mahomes, Andy Reid for that one. I'm laying Super Bowl 58 on Kyle Shanahan's doorstep, but Jimmy G got you there. And I'm arguing for Jimmy G. I'm not a Jimmy G fan, but he's probably the best bet for the Rams if they move off of Matthew Stafford, Tommy Huxley, and the refs. Okay, yeah, I know that's the thing there. Okay, all right, cool. Well, guys, I got 40 minutes in. I was only going to go 30. I got to blow. Got stuff to do. Be sure to check out midvalleysports.com. There'll be a link to this show, but also you'll get some other stuff on there. If you click on the Pro Football, you'll get some Ram notes, some stuff from Tim Burns, stuff on the Raiders, stuff on the Chargers. And I'm going to be posting the Ram notes probably tomorrow, and we'll go from there. But, guys, thank you so much, and I appreciate it. Tommy Huxley, have a good weekend. You too. And God bless, guys. I appreciate you being here. Have a great night, great weekend. Check out From the RamCave on Spotify.